First of all, we need to have the part open, and then we need to start a new cam project, which is milling for our case, and then we need to pick external for the cam part itself, and then we'll prompt us to pick the coordinate system and the stock block. For the coordinate system, we can just click on any face and then it will automatically pick the coordinate, the best coordinate. And then when you pick the stock block, we need to click on the part itself and then insert values for the offset. This is the offset for this spot. Before cutting, before the process, we need to pick tools for the cutting itself. To do that, we need to go to the tool and then power tool table and then add new tool and then edit the pre-made tool. For the first tool, we will use an end mill. Which have this dimension. This was ideal because of the nature of the part itself. The cutting length needs to be longer since the part itself has a long depth to cut. This is the first tool, and the second tool is the same end mill. Which have this dimension. This is the second tool, and then this is the third tool, which is the same type, which is an end mill. We don't need, and this is the dimension for the third tool, and then we can just save and exit. To start the operation, we need to add a milling operation. For our case, we will be using 3D milling. It'll prompt us to pick a coordinate system or a working area. We'll define this working area by clicking and then clicking this and should define it. The working area is the place where we'll be cutting which tool. For the first cut, we will be cutting this part of the part. So we'll be clicking this and then the other face. We'll be picking this face and this space. When we define our working area, we can just click OK, and then we'll be using the tool by selecting the tool itself by select, and then we'll be using the first tool to cut the first part of it, and then we need to pick the level where we want to cut it. Of course, we want to be the upper level to be 0, where it will be right here, and then the lower level to be here, to allow the cutting tool to go from here to make the part here. And for technology, we'll be using contour, and then we'll just save and exit. We'll be adding an operation here. For a second cut, we will be using the same milling operation. Where the working area will be from here to here, where we will make this part. We will be using the same tool because of the large working area, and then we need to pick the upper level to be because of the nature of the part itself. Like here, we can pick the upper level to be right here, and the lower level to be here. For the technology, it's the same contour, and then we can just save and exit. For the third operation, we will be making this hole with the same milling operation. Because of this type hole right here, we need to pick the working area from right here, down here. So the working area for this part is just this hole until this point. For the tool, we will use the same first tool because of the big diameter of it. And then the levels, of course, we will start from 0, but for the lower level, we will use till this point. This point. For technology, it's the same as in the other two, contour and then save and exit. The third operation would be drilling these holes, these many holes. To do that, you go to the same operation, but not picking 3D milling, but drilling. For drilling, we need to pick which hole are we drilling. To do that, we need to go to the bottom of it and then pick the holes we're drilling. It automatically sequences the whole, which hole should be the first one. And then for the tool, because of the size of the hole, we will use the second tool, which is 10 millimeters. And the levels will be automatically calculated by SolidWorks. And we can just edit the operation. The fifth operation should be drilling this many holes. The many holes. To avoid the hassle, we would be using drilling for the operation, but to pick the coordinates, we will click and drag, and it'll automatically pick the point itself. But because the nature of the part, it'll also pick the holes which is not the holes we want to drill. To delete those, we will just click here and then delete the holes sequence where we don't want the holes to be, including 152, 128, and etc. If you're done picking the geometry, and then we can just pick the tool. And the size of this hole, it will be 6 millimeters. So we will choose tool 3. And then we just add another operation. But because of the nature of this part, which have this step holes, we need to start a new operation by clicking here and then a machine setup, and we need to add the N, and we want to pick a new coordinate system. So we just click on the bottom face. We can do that by using a new operation, by adding a new operation. By going to machine setup and add a set operation tree. And then, of course, for the position, we need to change it since it is on the bottom side of the pod itself. So we go from here, go to new, to pick a new position. So we add and select the bottom face. Which will automatically pick the bottom as the second coordinate system, where in real life the part itself will be flipped. And the part itself will be on its back. And then just okay. And we put a new operation here. And for the step hole, of course, we will use the same milling operation, which is 3D milling. And we will define the working area. And we will use the first tool. And for the levels, of course, we want it to be until this point. And then we just, for technology, of course, we will use contour. And we just add an operation. And for the other step holes right here, we will use the same operation. We add a milling operation, 3D milling. Define our working area. And then picking our tool, which will be the second. The levels will be going from 0, which is this point right here, 0, which is the face right here. And then the lower level should be to the point right here, where the step hole stops. And then, of course, the technology will be same as in contour. And then we just add a new one. And to finish, of course, we need to make the overall shape or the outer shape of it. To do that, we need to add a new operation, which is profile. Of course, we need to, of course, define the working area. And for the tool, we need to use the biggest one. Because we pick the coordinate system from the bottom, we can just pick this point because it'll stop right here. And for the technology, we will use right. To check if our operation is correct, we need to calculate all of it first. Oh, I did something wrong. This should be left. And this is our final operation for this spot. And this is my explanation for it. Thank you.